Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Urdu Seekhiye. This is episode number 20. Today we're going to change things up. We're going to go over a poem by Aslam Gurdaspuri. It is devoted to the Black Lives Matter movement. The reason I chose this poem is because there is a repeated phrase in it, and I needed to know what else was being said in the poem. So I've asked my friend Naima to help translate this poem for us. Welcome back to Urdu Seekhiye, Naima.
Assalamu alaikum, Shiri. I'm happy to be back, and I'm very happy to be helping out with this specific poem. And I think it's a great selection. How did you happen to come across it?
I happened to be at the right place at the right time, really. My dad was watching his usual Desi TV, which includes the news, on YouTube, and the man in the video was reciting various poems. Right as I walked into the living room, I heard the words, "Mera dam ghutta hai." At first, I'm like, he's definitely talking about George Floyd. I had to know what was being said. So here we are. I'll include the link to the original video in the show notes, if anyone's interested. With that, let's get started.
ईंट से ईंट बजा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है। अब तो एक हश्र उठा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है। इनसे मुमकिन ही नहीं ताज़ा हवाओं का वरूद। इन फसीलों को गिरा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है। मैं कि सदियों से हूँ इस तौके ग़ुलामी का असीर। मुझको आज़ाद करा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है। मेरी गर्दन पे है सदियों से उदू का पाँव। मेरी गर्दन को छुड़ा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है। मेरी इंजील के औराक में तदफीन करो। मेरी तुरबत पे लिखा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है। ऐसा मस्कन के जहाँ सांस हो लेना मुश्किल। ऐसे मस्कन को जला दो, मेरा दम घुटता है। इससे बढ़कर तो मैं कुछ कह नहीं सकता असलम। सारी दुनिया को बता दो, मेरा दम घुटता है।
Now Naima will read the Urdu lines, and I'll provide the translation.
ईंट से ईंट बजा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है।
Wreak havoc. I can't breathe.
अब तो एक हश्र उठा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है।
Now, raise all hell. I can't breathe.
इनसे मुमकिन ही नहीं ताज़ा हवाओं का वरूद।
The passage of fresh air is not possible through these.
इन फसीलों को गिरा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है।
Break down these barriers. I can't breathe.
मैं के सदियों से हूँ इस तौके ग़ुलामी का असीर।
I, who have been chained in the bonds of slavery for centuries.
मुझको आज़ाद करा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है।
Have me freed. I can't breathe.
मेरी गर्दन पे है सदियों से उदू का पाँव।
The tyrant's foot has been on my neck for centuries.
मेरी गर्दन को छुड़ा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है।
Have my neck released. I can't breathe.
मेरी इंजील के औराक में तदफीन करो।
Bury me in the pages of the Bible.
मेरी तुरबत पे लिखा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है।
Have it inscribed on my tombstone. I can't breathe.
ऐसा मस्कन के जहाँ सांस हो लेना मुश्किल।
Such a dwelling in which it is difficult to breathe.
ऐसे मस्कन को जला दो, मेरा दम घुटता है।
Burn such a dwelling down. I can't breathe.
इससे बढ़कर तो मैं कुछ कह नहीं सकता असलम।
I cannot say much more than this, Aslam.
सारी दुनिया को बता दो, मेरा दम घुटता है।
Tell the whole world. I can't breathe. I've heard mera dam ghutta hai often. In all the contexts that I have ever heard it in, it's never been as lethal as the context in which it is being used in this poem. In the cases I've heard it in Bollywood movies really, for example, a character might say this if she felt trapped or suffocated by her controlling parents. Or maybe one might say, mera dam ghutta hai, if he feels so sick and tired of a dead-end job. So it's this idea of feeling suffocated, like the walls are closing in on you. So, mera dam ghutta hai means I can't breathe or I feel suffocated.
So to say I can't breathe, you might say मैं सांस नहीं ले सकती if you're a woman, and मैं सांस नहीं ले सकता if you're a man. The word dam also means sans or breath, and dam ghutna is used to express that you're being suffocated. मेरा दम घुटता है means I'm being suffocated. In सांस नहीं ले सकती or सांस नहीं ले सकता, there is not that sense of urgency, whereas in dam ghutta, there is a sense of urgency almost like the last breath before death. So मेरा दम घुटता है is most appropriate to express the extreme physical as well as the emotional suffocation or oppression.
Yes. So the first line of this poem is Eent se eent bajado. Eent means brick. So in my head, I'm thinking eent se eent bajana. And that means to basically slam two bricks together. Clearly, bricks symbolize something bigger.
Yes, Shiri, literally that would be the case for bajana. If, for example, if I slam any two objects together, it will be so. But this is an idiomatic sentence. So, bajana, eent se eent bajana means to wreak havoc or to cause an upheaval or to cause a drastic change or to destroy. So, it could be translated as protesting violently so as to cause an upheaval or a drastic change. Eent se eent bajado is a way of calling for change. Just as you would have heard the expression in English that desperate times call for desperate measures. So, eent se eent bajado is being used with mera dam ghutta hai. And this person is dying of suffocation and calling for every force to be used to save him or her.
Right, and by no means are we condoning that anyone get violent or destructive. There are many other effective ways in which to eent se eent bajana, like donating money to organizations like the Equal Justice Initiative, or tutoring, mentoring, and voting out the bad politicians. But the sentiment is appropriate. We must keep that fire alive. Okay, so next we have Ab to ek hashar utha do. So utha do means to raise. Again, if I said hat uthao, that means to raise your hand. And that could be you raising your hand to ask a question or raising your hand at someone in a violent way. So he's saying, Ab to ek hashar utha do. And I understand ab to mean, come on, at least now. So ab to ek hashar utha do means, at least now, raise your voice or take action. Now that all this has happened, now that a man has died, now you can't just sit there.
You're exactly right, Shiri, about ab to. And then next comes ab to ek hashr utha do. Hashr literally means doomsday. It could also mean that you, just like the tumult of the Day of Judgment or Doomsday, where everyone will be accountable for their actions. So, in just relating to that scenario, the poet is asking people to get going and to raise a strong protest. But idiomatically, this means come now, raise all hell, or to raise a tumult that is worthy of Judgment Day.
I feel like I've heard it said to children, Ye kya hashr kiya hai tumne apne kamre ka? Is that a different hashr?
So Hashr means doomsday. It's the day of judgment because that on that day there's going to be all, what should I say, haphazard. Everything is haphazard. Everybody's running around. There's complete chaos. So it does mean chaos as well. But the poet is asking for chaos to be raised so that the issue could be addressed.
Huh, okay. I had no idea that hashr meant chaos or referred to doomsday. It's interesting how that word is associated with such a heavy subject and also such a light subject, as is the case with the question, Ye kya hashr kiya hai tumne apne kamre ka? Imagine a mother saying that to her child. Ye kya hashr kiya hai tumne apne kamre ka? So it most closely means what chaos you've made of your room or what a mess you've made of your room. Clearly a total exaggeration. Anyway, I was listening to Sam Harris's podcast, Waking Up, and in episode 206, he's interviewing an author, and the author mentions the word apocalypse. And that made me think of our word, hashar.
Most of us use the word apocalypse to mean, locusts and famine and hornets and disasters of all kinds. And we are certainly suffering through this global pandemic and this terrible economic shock. But literally, an apocalypse means an unveiling, a revelation. It comes from Greek words that mean to take the cloth off of something.
So returning back to the ghazal, these two expressions of eent se eent baja do and ab to ek hashr utha do are what you might expect as reactions to such a grave injustice. It's this idea of don't let my death have been in vain. You must avenge my death. A meaningful change has to come out of this. Okay, so the next line is Inse mumkin hi nahi, taza hawaon ka vurud. The only word I don't know is that last one, vurud.
So, vurud means to come in or to land or to reach some place. So the line means it's not possible at all for the fresh breeze or gusts of fresh air to come in through these. Taza means fresh and hawaon is the plural form of hawa, which means air or breeze. So hawaon would mean gusts of fresh air or fresh breeze.
So I'm kind of interested in talking about the word in. So inse mumkin hi nahi taza hawaon ka vurud. I feel like something's being not mentioned. What is in referring to?
So in is explained in the next line, and it says इनसे मुमकिन ही नहीं ताज़ा हवाओं का वरूद इन फसीलों को गिरा दो मेरा दम घुटता है. So in is referring to the fasilein, which means these barriers.
That makes sense. Okay, so yeah, as you said, the next line is In fasilon ko gira do, mera dam ghutta hai. Gira dena means to drop, and in means these. So the poet is asking us to drop something.
Right, fasilo means fences, but here he's talking about any kind of barriers actually. He's saying let's drop or remove these barriers. Then next we have मैं के सदियों से हूँ इस तौके ग़ुलामी का असीर. I who have been in the chains or bonds of slavery for centuries.
Next we have Mujhko azad kara do, mera dam ghutta hai. Azad means free or liberated. Mujhko azad kara do means have me liberated or have me freed. And dam ghutta hai, you already know.
The next line is मेरी गर्दन पे है सदियों से उदू का पाँव. So here मेरी गर्दन पे means on my neck. है सदियों से means is for centuries. Udu means tyrant, and with ka paon it becomes the foot of the tyrant. Udu ka paon. So the entire line is मेरी गर्दन पे है सदियों से उदू का पाँव. This means the tyrant or the enemy has had his foot on my neck for centuries.
Alright, so the next line is Meri gardan ko choda do. So one of the previous lines was Mujhko azad kara do. There the poet is asking, have me freed. This line is similar to that line. This too is a request. Choda dena means to have someone released. So it might be from jail, it might be from handcuffs, it might be from any institution that might be holding you hostage, that might be keeping you without your will. So Meri gardan ko choda do is a request, and it means have my neck be freed, have my neck be released. So Mujhko azad kara do means have me freed, and Meri gardan ko choda do means have my neck be released.
And then next we have मेरी इंजील के औराक में तदफीन करो. So in this line, Injil means the Bible and Aurak means the pages. and tadfeen means burial. So the line means मेरी इंजील के औराक में तदफीन करो. It means bury me in the pages of the Bible.
At one point in the video, the man reading this poem says, "Wo jo kala tha, mazmoon bechara, wo bhi Christian tha." So why does he say wo bhi? Who else is Christian other than George Floyd?
So he's referring to this fact that the oppressor was a Christian. The policeman who was suffocating George Floyd, he's assuming that he's also Christian, and George Floyd is also a Christian. So he's basically referring to the fact that it's the मेरी इंजील के औराक में तदफीन करा दो. He's saying this line while reciting this line, that वो भी बेचारा Christian था. वो भी means he was too a Christian. George Floyd was too a Christian. So a Christian is oppressing another Christian. This is what he's referring to. And मेरी इंजील के औराक में तदफीन करो. It's a very heartbreaking line, which is referring to the death of the very gentle teachings of the Bible. We've heard about the teachings of the Bible that if somebody slaps you on one cheek, turn the other cheek instead of retaliating. That's the original teaching of the Bible. So that horrible picture that was displayed across all TV screens that day, it is actually the death of all the teachings of the Bible. So that is why the poet is saying that having buried in the pages of the Bible.
Wow, that was much deeper than I was expecting. I definitely didn't catch the point that both the oppressor and the oppressed share the same religion, which clearly didn't hold any weight in this case. And your other interpretation, this idea that metaphorically, this was also the death of the teachings of the Bible, that's beautiful, something to think about. Thank you for that explanation. All right, so then we have the line, मेरी तुरबत पे लिखा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है. So let's start with the word turbat. Turbat means tombstone. So this is also a request. मेरी तुरबत पे लिखा दो. Have it inscribed on my tombstone. So the entire line is मेरी तुरबत पे लिखा दो, मेरा दम घुटता है. And that means have it inscribed on my tombstone. I can't breathe.
Yes, you're right. So it's also a sort of a cry that I'm going to die, but have it inscribed on my tombstone that this was the reason I died. I can't breathe.
And then next we have ऐसा मस्कन के जहाँ सांस हो लेना मुश्किल. He's referring to such a dwelling or such an abode where it's difficult to breathe. So maskan means a dwelling, an abode or a place where you live. And sans means breath, as we've discussed earlier as well. And mushkil means difficult. So this line, ऐसा मस्कन के जहाँ सांस हो लेना मुश्किल. It means such a dwelling where it's difficult to even breathe. And the next line says, ऐसे मस्कन को जला दो, मेरा दम घुटता है. So burn that dwelling down. I can't breathe.
Right, it's not just any dwelling like such a dwelling, any such dwelling where you feel suffocated. It just doesn't deserve to be, here. Such dwellings, such institutions, such anything that causes a human being this much suffering should be burned down. It should be eradicated. I mean, not literally burned down, but it just...
Yes, Shirin, you're right. You're exactly right in this sense. Maskan means... maskan is from the word sukoon. Sukoon means peace. So maskan is a place where you live, but not only just that you live, it's a place where you find peace, where you're at peace. So just like in your home, you're at peace. So the poet is saying that ऐसा मस्कन कि जहाँ सांस हो लेना मुश्किल, ऐसे मस्कन को जला दो, मेरा दम घुटता है. Such a place where I'm supposed to be at peace, I can't even breathe there. So that place doesn't even have a right to be there in the first place, because it's not fulfilling what it was made for. This dwelling, this country where I'm living, he's referring not only to his home, he's referring to his the entire country, the entire state where he was living, maybe It's better that I don't that you don't have those systems in place which can't guarantee my peace of mind and which can't guarantee me, a maskan in a true sense, a dwelling in a true sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and that actually reminds me of others. Like Breonna Taylor is another case that we had. I mean, she was in her own home, minding her own business, and the cops went into her own home and killed her. So this idea of you talking about, finding peace, this idea that maskan means, peace, sukoon, it comes from sukoon. That hits home for that, for that case. So then we'll continue. So the next line is, actually, before I say the next line, Naima, can you explain why he uses his name? Like, why does he say, इससे ज़्यादा तो मैं कुछ कह नहीं सकता असलम? Clearly that's his name. So why is it that he's doing that? Is he talking to himself?
So he makes a share and he puts his name in it, or his takhallus, to use the exact term there. And that's a thing that's done in Urdu poetry. I don't know if it's done in English poetry because I can't recall ever having seen, for instance, Wordsworth using his own name in his own poetry. Do you think there is a concept of this takhallus in English poetry?
No, I don't think so. And then, as I'm reading it, I'm like, have I ever done this? And I've only done it when I am journaling and I'm talking to myself. So I thought that maybe this man is talking to himself. Maybe he wrote this poetry as a journal entry, but that's not the case.
No, that's not the case. It's the usage of the takhallus there. The poets put their takhallus in either the first share, that is the first two lines, or in the last share, that is the last two lines of the poem. So that's why you see the aslam there, because he's put it there as his takhallus.
All right, so let's continue with that line. So the line again is, इससे ज़्यादा तो मैं कुछ कह नहीं सकता असलम. So इससे ज़्यादा तो मैं कुछ कह नहीं सकता असलम means, I cannot say much more than this, Aslam. Basically, there's nothing left to be said. There's nothing more left to be said.
Exactly. He means, now it's the time to act. And then the final line is, सारी दुनिया को बता दो, मेरा दम घुटता है. So here, सारी दुनिया means the whole world. बता दो means tell. So, सारी दुनिया को बता दो means tell the whole world. And next he says, मेरा दम घुटता है. I can't breathe. Tell the whole world that I can't breathe.
So that does it for this episode. We would love to hear your thoughts on this poem, this ghazal. Maybe you have different interpretations. Please go to our website, www.urdusikhiye.com/E20. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Until next time, Khuda Hafiz.